Back inside our San Francisco studios, Mike Yam and Yogi Roth with you. We're trying to figure out the Pac-12 South division. Can you please, as we take a closer look at the standings right now, explain who's really the front runner here?
It's Utah.
Still
I don't
going
think
with
it's
the
close.
Utes. Okay.
I don't think it's close, Mike. I mean, you look at what happened in the SC game,
Sure.
completing the deep balls against them, a relative anomaly. Give SC the credit and the hype. They deserve it. They proved it. But overall, Utah is still the most complete team. The challenge is that USC is not very far off.
And has the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and has the tiebreaker, except they're down to their third-string quarterback.
Sure.
So I think when you say who's the best team right now, it's easy to say Utah. Now, if Keaton Slovis comes back and all of a sudden they come off their bye, they come off the Notre Dame game, because that's a big game, obviously, but regardless of if they win or lose, it doesn't really matter where they are right now because they're out of the college football playoff. They can still win the Pac-12 based on the tiebreaker they have with Utah in the Pac-12 South. So I'd say that, but overall, I'm most excited for this weekend because I'm calling a game in Colorado, Arizona for the two teams tied for the lead.
Yeah.
Both undefeated, 1-0 in the Pac-12 South. It's going to be awesome. So, yes, it's kind of up in the air for everybody, but Utah, to me, is the best team.
You know, a week ago, you and I were having a conversation about the best team in the entire conference. And at that point, Cal was an undefeated football team with two of the best wins that any team had had, resume-wise, right? It's a win in Seattle against Washington and then a road win in SEC country against Ole Miss. They lose, and you say to yourself, okay, well, what does that really mean? How important is resume? I'm going to throw it your way because there's one team in that division that's got two top 25 wins, and that's Arizona State. And I know they got a true freshman quarterback in Jaden Daniels who continues to surge here. Also got a young offensive line, but I don't know if we should be riding off the Herm train at this point.
No, I mean, if you would have said they're going to get to the bye week with the wins that you just described, with the youth that you just described, let alone two true freshmen starting on the offensive line. There's a bunch of freshman quarterbacks starting in major college football, Mike.
Sure.
None of them have two true freshmen on the offensive line. So you got to give them credit. You're right. Defense, they were embarrassed in the Colorado game. So much they said that. Came back and played well against Cal. What are they going to do the rest of the season? I'll be most curious about. Because I do think every game, they'll scheme up and it'll be close.
Yeah.
When they need a stop and to stop the run, can they do it against this Utah offensive front? Curious because they don't have an elite pass rusher. If they do play against an SC team that is healthy, how do they handle the skill players on the outside? They struggle with Colorado. So there's question marks, but you're right. They are like Utah 5 years ago in terms of they're going to be in every single game and it'll come back to come down to two possessions.
We were both in Utah this past week at Salt Lake City, and we got to watch Utah dominate a game against Washington State, a team that we thought was pretty good. Talked to a couple of players, and they referenced the USC loss, and I think Tyler Huntley said it was a fluke for us. We played well. How much do you buy? I know you said that they are the team that's got the fewest questions. They were dominant. They're your pick right now in that division. Like, what potentially derails them, I guess, is maybe the bigger thing, because we've already seen the one loss, and SC's got that tiebreaker. Is there a world, injuries aside, where it's Utah not winning that division?
Yeah, I mean, I would have said 2 weeks ago, can Tyler Huntley complete the three balls? How many times have I told you this? Yeah, I think big-time quarterbacks have to complete three passes in big-time games, in big environments. Down the field, play-action passes, pocket gets dirty. He did all those things against Washington State. Against the defense, I get it that they fell apart against UCLA, but historically, they're usually in the right spot, very active, talented defense for Mike Leach. He had the best game of his entire career. I don't see him slowing down. So what can derail this team? It's execution, specifically in the red zone. Turnovers, specifically in the red zone. That's what hurt him against SC. Right? Can they make plays in the back end? They played their best game as a secondary. Granted, it was in the rain, so they got to go prove it again. But that's what hurt them. Big plays down the field and not finishing drives. And that's very general, and every coach would say that. But I think when we look at Utah and their schedule, specifically when you look at UW having to go on the road in a couple weeks, or a Pac-12 title against, we would presume, Oregon or UW again. Those are the things that are the difference. We saw it last year in the title game, and we'll see it again as the season goes on. I think they've just elevated enough, and I think they've learned from the SC game to finish drives and complete the balls down the field like we saw last week.
That was the biggest mistake, at least in that SC thing. I mean, right on the cusp a couple times, just not able to punch it in for some points. We're not done talking about Pac-12 football. You can follow us on our social channels, Twitter and Instagram, at Yogi Roth, at Mike_Yam. And of course, every single Tuesday, we got you covered on Pac-12 Network, 6 p.m. Pacific time on Inside Pac-12 Football.